Hi, this is Jane Garibay from On the Porch. I'm your state representative for Windsor and Windsor Locks. And I'm very excited today to have Alex Rodriguez here, who is a climate advocate. And that's how I met Alex a couple of years ago. And we're excited to talk about our environment on such a beautiful day like today. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Representative Garibay. Great to be with you on the porch today.
Thank you. I'm going to give you just a little background on Alex. As a climate advocate for Save the Sound, Alex Rodriguez is responsible for youth mobilization, supporting climate-related communications, coalition building, community engagement, and legislative advocacy. Prior to joining Save the Sound, Alex served as a community organizer to the CT League of Conservation Voters, and that's where I met Alex, where he planned and executed campaigns relating to climate action, voting rights, and electric school bus advancement. He has also served in roles such as chair of the Public Participation Public Subcommittee of the Governor's Council on Climate Change and vice chair of Hartford's Advisory Commission on the Environment. And Alex enjoys spending time with his family, reading, singing, and dancing. I love it. Welcome, Alex. Again.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here today and to learn more about your new role with Save the Sound.
I'm glad to dive into it. So, as a climate advocate, as you mentioned, the climate crisis is my top priority within my work, and there are some priorities that my organization has laid out regarding how we believe the climate crisis should be dealt with. Back in 2008, the state legislature passed the Global Warming Solutions Act, which was geared toward reducing carbon emissions in the state of Connecticut. And really, it laid out a clear goal of the state of Connecticut reducing carbon emissions by 80% by 2050, because carbon emissions are the aggravator of the climate crisis. When fossil fuel companies are not tightly regulated, when they are given free rein to burn as much of their oil, gas as they do, it puts the community in a difficult situation. You know, we're in a much different world than we were, let's say, at the start of the Industrial Revolution. But that's why we need to push for greener technologies that accomplish the same things that the previous innovators had put forward back in the day. We believe in a comprehensive energy strategy within our climate department. We believe in accountability, and we strongly believe in how important it is to really elevate green energy in the state of Connecticut. Back in 2018, as an organizer with the Connecticut League, I had organized what was the first ever Youth Climate Action Lobby Day, and Representative Garibay, I remember you being in attendance, and that was a great day to really show the community, how serious we were about addressing the climate crisis. And it was amazing to have the legislative buy-in from you and your legislative colleagues. Together, we We got legislation passed in the House and Senate to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 45% by 2030 and increase the renewable portfolio standard to 40% by 2030. And those were extremely important initiatives. Today there was a lot more to be done to make sure that the state is holding itself accountable to these standards. My supervisor, Charles Rothenberger, who is our climate and energy attorney at Save the Sound, is regularly glued to the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority meetings because these meetings determine our electric rates, how much we pay to keep our homes warm throughout the winter or cool them throughout the summer. It's important that our energy be efficient, that it be affordable, and that it be accessible to every Connecticut resident. And so with Charles in that realm, it certainly is a huge help to me to dissect some of that information and relay it to Save the Sound's membership base through our communications on how Pura is addressing our electric rates.
Mm-hmm. So just a couple of thoughts. First of all, what would you say? I just had someone post on one of my newsletters that was on the environment, fake news. To me, it's common sense. You don't have to be a scientist to know that if you think of how many disposable diapers each baby puts out in their life, their 2.5 years that they're in diaper, I mean, it's just mountains. So what do you say to a person that still doesn't believe that there's a problem with the environment?
I would, I would implore with the person to, really analyze their backyard, really analyze the public park that they grew up at, the waterways that they may have played by growing up, because there is a significant change in the way that things are now from what they used to be. Representative Garraby, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but one of the reasons that I got involved in the environmental movement was because of my concern for wide accessibility of clean drinking water. In the town of Bloomfield, there was a behind-the-scenes deal between the Metropolitan District Commission, Niagara Bottling, and the town of Bloomfield. The city had approved the sale of land and watersheds to Niagara Bottling to begin excavating to pump water out of the ground at a very unfair rate. This company Niagara was lured by the MDC to sell more water during what was
more as citizens, right? We're paying more as citizens for our water than the company is.
Mm-hmm. The company was lured here by the MDC to sell more water during one of our worst droughts back in 2016. 2016 was an extremely dry year. If you looked at the watersheds, the rivers, and really the soil, just about everywhere you could see it was extremely dried. Every summer since just about every summer since the start of the new millennia has been the hottest summer yet, and that's very concerning. To the person that is saying that climate change does not exist, I would implore you to really analyze what is happening in your community, and
Right.
also take a look at the frequency of hurricanes that are just seem a lot more rampant each year because of the climate changing.
Right. I think in a way we have to change a bit the way we live. And I think your generation coming up are more to move into town centers with apartment buildings, with the little shops, the restaurants, everything within walking distance. My mother-in-law lives in Madrid, Spain,
Mhm.
and we go to visit, and they have garbage recycling receptacles at every corner, 4 different colors. And every morning before they go to work, they go out with their bag, or at night, whenever their time is, and they do it. Many don't own cars anymore. It's like when you rent a bicycle, you have your card. So you
Mhm.
just punch into your computer, I need a car tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And there's one there, and you go and you put your card in and to do, but it's changing. So you can live without a car, except for, you're going to, Old Saybrook to the beach for the day. Um, the mass transit in Spain is incredible, as is a lot of Europe. It's fast, it's quick. We've used it, and it's clean. It's great. Um, so I think we have to start changing. I know that I'm against fracking. It's just like no more, and we have that plant.
Mhm.
And I had some groups in Connecticut really angry with me because I was taking away jobs. But we have to change the jobs to green jobs. I don't want them to lose their jobs. We just got to change it towards newer technology. So we need training, and, what do you think? I mean, how do we get
I'm,
people to learn?
oh, I'm 100% on the same page with you there. Um, Fracked gas, continuing to rely on fracked gas as our main fuel to support our communities is a step in the wrong direction. We have the technology to do better, so we should do better. I, I think to what you were saying earlier about thinking more collectively, thinking more holistically. I totally agree.
And
Uh,
how do we move forward having a plan? Because I know a couple of families that moved out of Killingly
mhm,
because the fracking may be going there.
mhm,
They don't want their children. Um, and so I understand things that happen that you didn't think. I grew up some years on a farm,
mhm,
and I can remember the crop dusters in the plains over our fields, over our trees. And then as kids, we'd go and pick up the apples and eat them.
mhm,
And, there's 5 in my family. 2 have died of cancer, and 1 has survived, and I've had it. And
mhm,
the only thing we can think of, because it's all different kinds of cancers, they have nothing to do with each other, but we had those chemicals, going right over us, and no one knew at the time. No one knew. Well, we didn't know. Some people may have known,
mhm,
but for people to realize that. Another thing that's really I would like to see happen more is educating people on what is recyclable,
mhm,
including my husband thinks if it has the triangle, it's recyclable, but not black plastic is not, black styrofoam. So
mhm.
there's things that aren't, even though they have the little triangle, but we don't know, right?
Mm. The black plastic was actually news to me this past summer. Um, I live in West Hartford, and there's a Facebook group called West Hartford Recycles, and my friend Catherine Bruns is the recycling coordinator in town, and she had posted about that one day, black plastic not being recyclable, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna stop that immediately because good faith recycling, it like it I won't green shaming is not nice. It like to green shame someone is different than to point out greenwashing from companies that will tell you that your plastic bag is 100% biodegradable. It's not. It's very misleading. And
It
so
is. I,
frank conversations about what we could do better is a very important. I started composting this past summer. I became a Blue Earth compost customer, as did my parents. We both
uh,
all. we all collectively signed up for Blue Earth Compost.
What is that?
It's a company within the West Hartford area, and I believe they do some other towns. Blue Earth Compost, they give their customers green bins, about 4-quart bins, and they encourage their customers to dispose their food scraps into the bins, and then they'll come by every Wednesday to pick them up, and when you make an account with Blue Earth Compost, they'll tell you how much food waste you've diverted. And one of my friends, Sam King from Blue Earth Compost, he has a very intentional area of the account where you can see how much how much gas you diverted from the incinerator. How much
Why does that matter? Why does it matter that you should compost it when you just throw it in the garbage and it's gonna, why would I compost it?
Oh, it's important to compost because our food was once living, and our food has nutrients, and
Okay.
our nutrients should go back into the soil, so that because our soil eats too. Our soil wants to be nourished, and so the healthier we make our soil, the healthier we eventually make ourselves. I like to think of it as part of the circle of life. That's why I became a customer, a Blue Earth Compost customer.
Right. No, that's awesome. Right now in my backyard, we have animals that just love like any leftover apples or lettuce or whatever, believe it or not. There's
Mhm.
even deer that jump over our 4-foot fence
Mhm.
to come into the yard. But yeah, composting is good. And especially if you want a garden, even if
Mhm.
it's pot gardens, because then it's fertile earth and um, that works really well too. Um, so yeah, I know even with cups, like some of the fast food cups are recyclable, but the covers and straws are not.
Mhm.
So you really have to pay attention. So I think that's something. Windsor has a climate action group. I don't know if you've met anyone from there, Susan Miller.
Oh yes. Mhm.
Yeah, and so they're working on different projects right now. It's more energy, etc. But that would be a good thing to do. And with the trash companies, for them to help educate people on because I hear it's not good to put in things that are not recyclable. It just causes much more work and trouble.
Mhm.
And I wish we would go back to the two system where glass is separated so that it's not breaking into the trucks, etc. There's so much to work on that. Have you been out to see the Block Island windmills?
Black Island Windmill. I have not. Have you seen
I
it?
have. About 5 years ago, when I was president of the New England Area Chambers of Commerce, they invited us out and we were on a boat and right under it. And people would tell me how noisy they are, these different things, which I never thought because in Spain, they're everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Everywhere you look, there's olive tree bushes and windmills. We were right underneath it, that blade's going, and you barely hear it at all.
Mhm.
They talked about how people said the birds' flight plans that didn't affect, and they said in the ocean, instead of killing, all new ecosystems and reefs grew around the coast in there, and the fishermen actually came out to where the windmills were to fish because it was just it was thriving.
Mhm.
And so people that say, how bad they are, I think they're beautiful myself. But
I would agree. I've seen a number of windmills around the center of the island in Puerto Rico when I was down there in my most recent trip back in November. I loved it. Um, I see windmills on the island, helping helping it become a lot more self-sufficient energy wise. because the elements are all around Puerto Rico. It's such a beautiful place. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
I've only been to San Juan for a few days, but it is beautiful. I wish they made, and maybe they do, windmills small enough that you could have it in your backyard to help people to become more self-sufficient. That it's like they tell you, know where your food comes from. You know, some kids don't even know that, that meat comes from a cow. It's, they see the package in the grocery store. Energy, where does it come from? How much do you need, et cetera, especially with the rising bills and everything. It's a little bit crazy out there. So are there any last words you'd like to leave us with about what people can do or?
Well, this past week, there was a couple of important environment committee bills addressed. One was HB 6551, an act concerning environmental air quality. And then another was SB 884, an act concerning transportation related emissions. And these two bills are very important for climate accountability. As I mentioned earlier, climate crisis is very much so real, and it's important that we hold state leaders accountable to the goals set forth by the Global Warming Solutions Act, and then some. And now, at the national level, we have a president who believes in climate change and is working to fight the crisis. And we need to show in Connecticut that we are twice as strong on the issue, because we have many coastal communities in the state, and mitigating the climate crisis supports resiliency among the coastal communities, among New London, New Haven, etc. And so, I would encourage everybody watching at home in Windsor today, please contact the Environment Committee in support of these two bills,
Did they
because
come out of committee yet?
they have not.
Okay, so yeah, it's a good time to call or email.
Yes, to everybody watching, please email envtestimony@cga.ct.gov and say that you support HB 6551 and SB 8884 because you want climate action and a sustainable future.
Right. I want a world for my kids, and grandkids, hopefully. There's also a bill, and I haven't seen it recently, but to take PFAS out in firefighting foam.
Oh, yes.
And that hit Windsor and Windsor Locks pretty hard with the PFAS spill.
Mhm.
And I understand that there is an alternative that's, that close to being as good as the PFAS, because we don't want to put in danger our firefighters for any reason. But the truth of the matter is hanging out with that PFAS all the time is not good for their health.
That's another important one.
Do you have on like your website maybe a list of all the different bills or?
We on our savethesound.org page, we do have a section where under our media room, you can find our blog, and you'll be able to find our 2021 legislative agenda for Connecticut. And on it, you'll find our priorities regarding climate and clean energy, Long Island Sound and rivers, environmental justice and defending laws, and the state budget. And so, to everybody watching, please go to savethesound.org and please check out our page and become a member, because we need your help to fight for Connecticut and fight for clean air, clean water, and sustainability.
And this is something where we have to make it happen across the world. You know,
Mhm.
first it starts at home, across the country, because what one area does, as you know, like the Connecticut River goes through so many states, if something happens in one state,
Mhm.
that problem goes down and it hurts, other towns and people and wildlife, etc. Well, that's really good, Alex. So it's savethesound.org,
Mhm.
okay, to do that. And there's probably contact information there to talk to someone if someone has a question or wants to volunteer or get more involved, correct?
Absolutely. And I will also provide my email for everybody at home. My email is Alex, Alex Rodriguez, Rodriguez, all is one. Alex Rodriguez at savethesound.org.
Okay, that's perfect. Maybe we can get it at the end in the credits going out, the information to do. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. When you have new stuff coming out, let me know and we'll meet again. And again, just thank you. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to On the Porch. We'll see you next week with another guest.